Hi, welcome to our season 11. We're on episode 4. Episode 3, we talked about um, what a platform was. And now we're going to go deeper in and ask, if you're going to go and play in a platform, how do you really do that? I'm Mary Abazia, and with me is Tom Spitali and Sean Wellham. We're part of Impact Planning Group, and we're excited to delve into this one. So Tom, how do companies actually participate in a platform?
Yeah, once a company, a B2B company, decides that they want to participate in a platform, the first thing that you have to realize is that it's likely going to be the most price transparent environment that you operate in. I mean, if you can imagine any consumer platform, Amazon, that you shop on, real easy to kind of rack and stack your options and compare prices. And so it's likely that in order to be successful on most platforms, you're going to have to be a little bit more price aggressive than you have or are outside of the platform. And this really starts to create some, interesting strategic issues for a platform seller, because you as a B2B likely have an established channel, and they're selling your products at a certain price. They're trained to actually, build up the value of your goods and services to get you a margin that is healthy and that you're satisfied with. It's going to create a problem if you go in with the same product and service into the platform and just sell it at a lower price. The problem it's going to create is this channel conflict. Your traditional sales channel is not going to like that too much, because their prospects are going to say, why can't I just go on the platform, or why can't you give me the platform price? So I think we wanted to tee up a discussion today, really, how do you deal with that? What are some of the strategies that you can have as a B2B seller to sell efficiently and effectively, successfully on a platform, and reduce or eliminate channel conflict? So
just one thought on that, Tom. We're making an assumption, which is fairly safe and common, that price transparency is a part of every platform. But
yes.
I'm guessing for some services in particular, let's say legal services or CPAs or something, that if you were on a platform that introduced your services to, say, small, medium-sized businesses, you wouldn't necessarily have to have a price. It's more explaining your ethos, your value add, your location, all the stuff that might mean something.
Yeah.
And it's more of an introductory platform, a bit like a dating app, right? It's about putting people together without necessarily, I was going to say discussing price. That would be a different kind of dating app, I guess. But you get my point that for
Great
products, great products have price transparency. And that is what we're talking about today. But not every platform fits that mold, and sometimes you'll differentiate by how you present your offer to generate the inquiry from the platform, because you can't possibly quote.
It's a great disclaimer, because that is a broad brush statement that I made that may or may not be true. I mean, platforms are just taking shape. Who knows what the rules, the hard and fast rules will be, or what new types of platforms will emerge that could potentially be, include less of your competitors. I think that, though, it's safe to assume that the majority of platforms today, the ones that are emerging today, they're looking to kind of bring together a whole bunch of suppliers in certain categories. So it's likely that there will be a little to a lot of pricing pressure in most platforms. And, so I think there's this, you absolutely have to be differentiated, and there might be situations where it's less competitive, where just setting yourself apart is going to be a little bit easier. But I think in a lot of situations, it's going to be a lot harder, to set yourself.
I agree, by the way. I think it's true, because even if it's not price transparent, as in, you're selling some consumable product. My cement costs this much per bag or per kilo or what have you. That is going to be a factor. And we see that with financial products like car insurance and so forth, where you can compare a lot of suppliers at the same time. But even if it's not price transparent to that extent, the fact that we've made it easier for potential customers to shop the market, to easily reach out to 5 or 6 of your competitors, creates another level of price. So I think it's an absolute fact. It's just that I didn't want to think of every platform as being a price comparison platform.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's a derivative of that. The price pressure comes from the ease of access to the market as well. So two different.
Yeah, I think that participating in a platform provides an opportunity. It's if you just go in with the same exact bag of cement, it's same name and everything. Of course, people are going to, it's their job to go, it's the same thing. But there's an opportunity when you're on a platform to change that value proposition. Everything from, this, maybe it's delivering, you're getting into a different segment of the market that needs bigger bags or smaller bags or different forms. And I think if you're in a platform, there hopefully is some synergies with other platform players that you can start to bundle or provide some kind of a grouping that makes it easier for the end customer to say, oh, I can get the cement and the other types of things, the mixing bowls and everything. I can put it all together and get a package deal. So I think it's if you're going to participate in that party, in that platform party, I think it's your job to be creative about how you deliver that value in a different way. And then it makes it less easy for people to go apples to apples in comparing price too.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think that's absolutely right. You've got to have some differentiation, but almost a challenger brand to your existing brand. Maybe you could even bring out a different product name offering different attributes and services. So maybe that's part of it, is to have a platform product as in addition to your principal product.
I think it's absolutely essential. Mary, I was going to, when I think about this differentiated platform type of product, right, in varying aspects of the value proposition, I think about the case that you always talk about, where I believe it was there was a cartel.
Yeah.
Which one was it? Yeah,
we're thinking the same. Yeah, the sugar cartel.
I think you should talk about that, because I think even though that wasn't a situation for a platform, it occurred years ago, I think it's an interesting case study that shows the kind of value proposition changes that can be considered to be more price competitive. If that's what
I think I guess you're reading my mind, Tom, because it is in the back, as I'm thinking about how you shift your value proposition to different segments or different channels. In this case, that I think you're right. That was such a great example where a company was selling, crop protection to farmers. And when a sugar cartel came along and said, you're going to give us your lowest price, this company was smart enough to say, okay, we're not going to give you Sencor, we're going to give you S.26, and it's not going to be in the easy, convenient packaging. It's in a big drum. And by the way, you have to come pick it up. We're not delivering them. That's not part of this deal. And there's no financial terms that we usually provide to our farmers. You can arrange your own financing. We're not doing that. So when they stripped out that price, they stripped out the value components as well and gave them the core of what they wanted, basically. And they were smart enough. They made money in both segments just well, because they were managing not only the revenue but the cost side of those. And I think that that is a really good example, as you play in different platforms, that you could shift a lot of those different levers depending on the needs of those customer sets.
I think the immediate reaction to something like that might be, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. Why even bother, right? Why would I want to be in an environment where the pricing pressure is so formidable that I would have to do all that? And we talked a little bit about this on our last episode, but just to repeat, or if somebody's kind of just diving into this episode, what we talked about is the whole attraction to be in this kind of environment is that, first of all, they're growing exponentially. There's 3 times more B2B platforms that are in existence today than there were just two years ago. But the other attraction to platforms is that they are really bringing together more and more buyers to you, and marketing and sales costs, which are typically 20 to 25% of revenues, are, trend towards zero in the platform. The platform is an opportunity as they grow to reach a lot of buyers at a really low sales and marketing expense. And so I think that I think we all agree that it's going to be attractive to a lot of B2Bs out there.
Okay, economically as well. I mean, there's two reasons why you go on a platform. One's to lower your cost of customer acquisition, the sales and marketing expense, and two is to increase your revenue and ultimately your contribution, your gross profit. But theoretically, at least, thinking as an economist, you could say, well, if we sell 10,000 widgets today and our marketing sales expense is 20%, and we can sell 10,000 widgets on the platform and our sales and marketing expense is 5%, then happy days, right? Just fire off all of your sales and marketing expense and just go. There's got to be that constant view, strategic view of the trade-off between what you're trying to achieve, how else you could achieve it, and is this the best option? And at some point with these platforms, yeah, you can flirt and have a platform product maybe, and it's an addition to your core go-to-market strategy. But ultimately, I suppose you could double down and say, no, we're not doing the platform because we've found a better way, or we're going in big style, and this is going to be the future of how we distribute. You're essentially outsourcing your sales and marketing function to the platform. That could be the end game.
And there's this in-between period. I agree, Sean. There's this in-between period where most companies are going to want to try to do both, and that's where you run the risk of cannibalizing yourself. Because as we said, you go to the platform with same version of the product that your traditional sales force is selling, but at a lower price. Now what you're doing is you're eating yourself. Your sales force is upset. Your customers are maybe running to the platform because they want to get it there. And I think in this in-between period, it makes a lot of sense to understand that there's probably, both markets are going to exist simultaneously, maybe permanently, maybe for a while, where you have your traditional sales force and traditional sales channels and your platform. And so that's where it's really important to try to figure out if you can live in both worlds. Because if you do that, you probably are protecting yourself for the future. Because let's say that the future heads towards more and more platform, where you decide that's the way you want to sell in the future, is entirely on platform. Well, you're getting some real great experience here with your platform specific product right now, right? Let's say it goes in the other direction where platforms don't take off like we all, I think expect them to, or there becomes a real viable reason to not participate at all for some companies in a platform. You still have, your separate product that's a different value proposition that you expand on that. I think this idea of experimenting in both worlds is something that's really important right now to B2B, so that they can learn and be able to flex with whatever way the future leads us and leads your company.
I think, and I have a couple more thoughts to build on that, Tom, is if you are going to go to those other platforms, I don't know how well in B2B you can shop them, but it seems like, I wouldn't, like Sean, your analogy of, dating the first person that comes along, you may not date that first platform. You may need to say, okay, I'm going to do this. This is strategically the right thing for us. But then now I need to shop it and see which other platforms might even be more viable for us. And then once you decide that, if you say, okay, this is the right thing for us to pursue, to put somebody in charge. If you're a big enough company that you have resources available, letting someone be responsible for it, because a lot of times great ideas die because there's just no one's watching it. So put somebody in charge of being on watch and managing that relationship and seeing if that goes well and in the best interest of the channel. You may have somebody else that still focuses on the traditional. So in larger companies, that is a best practice, is to make sure you have people dedicated to really watching those two different areas.
I agree. I think also, my gut feel, my opinion, if you like, on this is you need to think through consequence. Whatever your strategy is with a platform, think through the consequence, both good and bad, potential and expected, and think of it as a trend analysis. What could happen if we go down this road? Play it out a little bit, because you've got to ask yourself the questions. If this platform generates more revenue, more business, more leads, more opportunity, how? What is it? Is it just the scale effect? Is it how they're marketing it? Could we do something better? Because ultimately, even though I said that, if you could sell your 10,000 widgets with zero or low sales and marketing expense, happy days, it might be in the short term, but in the long term, if you outsource your sales and marketing, the essence of your business is gone. You are just a commodity manufacturer ultimately. So you also have to think through of the long-term effects of this approach too, of thinking, what can we learn from it? And I think Tom's opening bit is right. It's a little bit like you got to have a foot in both camps in the early days while this stuff figures out. Don't go heavy either way. Don't ignore them and hope they go away. But at this stage, for most people, I would say I wouldn't necessarily pile in, because I don't think the consequences are clear, and you need to have that essence of what your business is, which is always your sales and marketing. It's never your product.
Cautious, yeah. Cautious, but you can't put your head in the sand either. I think, Mary, you made a great point that I want to build on a little bit about putting somebody in charge. I think that's important, but I think we also have to learn a lesson from the beginning era of the web, the internet age, where autonomous divisions ran a company's e-commerce websites, and it was a disaster. Why? Because customers expected that channel to be integrated with all of the other channels, right? And so you had these autonomous web divisions that were offering products, creating this very channel conflict that we're talking about. They had these products and services, aggressive pricing because the distribution costs direct were lower, et cetera, et cetera. And it didn't meet customer expectations, but it did also create a huge amount of channel conflict in the traditional sales channels. So I think that if somebody's in charge of platform, there's got to be an executive that sits over top of both channels, the platform channel as well as the traditional channels, to make sure that this entire strategy is harmonized and thought through, where you have different value propositions being offered in both channels, so that you can truly not repeat history and make the same mistakes that were made, in the late 90s, early 2000s. A lot of companies, led to a lot of stocks nosediving too, as well as just a lot of heartache.
So proceed with caution and ask what if a lot.
Yeah. We hope that you've had a few new thoughts from this discussion, and we always appreciate when you send us your thoughts and let us know how it's going for you as you're experimenting with all these different things. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.